Hello, Marshall County. Julie Kwan, your chair. I'm up in Nashville today, sitting with Representative Todd Warner. During the legislative season, our representatives and senators can't get down to our meeting as much because on Tuesdays they meet and they're working. So they can't get down there at 6:30 to give us their updates. So when they can't come to us, we come to them. And so here we are today to hear about what's happening and the legislation that you're taking care of, and just what's going on in the legislative session.
Well, thank you, Julie, for coming up. It's an honor to have you here, and it's an honor to have Marshall County checking in on us back home. So let's get started.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I put time and effort to make sure we had our microphone working. Unfortunately, we had another technical glitch. So we're going to make sure we talk loud so that it records well, because we're doing it just cell phone on the stand without the microphone. So if we're talking too loud, just turn us down, and hopefully we're talking loud enough. All right, Representative Warner, so here we go. So tell us what you're up to in this legislative session. I've got a couple questions, but if you wanted to talk about those first, or bills that you're carrying, or what would you like to do first?
We can go ahead and start with your
All
questions.
right.
Be fine.
Well, that's fine. All right. Well, one question is from Joe Bradford. He says, is there any chance of a restrictive covenant reform being proposed during the session? I previously spoken about this, adopting a law similar to other states where the restrictive covenants on deeds expire after 25 years. In his opinion, we need this because restrictive covenants that continue indefinitely become a burden on future property owners and development. So, is that something you're familiar with? Have you had a chance to look into it, or can you look into it and get back with us?
I can look into it and get back with you. I'm not familiar with any legislation right now up here that would address that. I can maybe see some needs for, maybe being able, once those restrictions are recorded, being able to go back, maybe tweak them. If there's something that comes along,
as things change.
As things change, people have different ideas. We don't think the things we done 25 years ago are probably some of the best things we need to be doing today. So I can see an effort to be able to change those.
Now, Representative Warner, that's different than, I know Representative Pickey over in Columbia, Maury County, is talking about, they've been talking a lot about impact fees in the Maury County Republican Party. That's a different thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it is.
So now there's a bill for that. Does Marshall County have impact fees?
I think right now, currently, we do have an impact fee.
Okay.
Per square foot on new homes, and so much a square foot on our new commercial
to help with infrastructure that goes along with new. Okay. Well, another hot topic is as part of the new 5th district in Tennessee, because we've had our redistricting, is that there's a bill before the House, because some of the candidates are recent, have only moved to Tennessee recently. So the new bill would restrict people they have to have a residency requirement. Some people have liked the idea, some have disliked it, but what I'm hearing a lot of is, I like it, but even if I like or dislike the candidates it would affect, it doesn't seem fair to change it midway. And they're also concerned about, is it constitutional to add requirements for Congress?
Right, I've heard.
So what have you been hearing? That's what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
What have you been hearing?
Well, I've heard about the bill, and I've talked to Chairman Tim Rudd out of Murfreesboro. I think that's the committee to go in front of his committee, and he feels like it's unconstitutional. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to leadership and see where we get on that. Now, I see the bill having pros and cons. As a lifelong Tennessean, I don't want to see somebody move in here to Tennessee to become a career politician. And, my next question, do they have our heart at, or our interest in their best interest when they move here just to become a career politician?
Or was it a convenience move, or
right.
what was the point behind it?
So
okay.
I can see both sides, but I'm not sure it's fair to change rules in midstream either. So I can see arguments from both sides of the situation.
Okay. Do you have any ideas where you might, if it comes up for a vote, or are you still gathering information?
Still gathering information. I understand there's maybe a few amendments that are coming with the bill that's going to be put over. It's going to be added on the House side.
Okay.
So I would definitely like to see what those amendments are.
Before we're making a commitment either way.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, what legislation are you excited about? What can you tell us?
I've got a couple things here we can go over. I have a Patient's Bill of Rights that I've been working on with Senator Pody.
Oh, we lost it. Senator Pody came down and spoke in August to Marshall County.
Great
And
guy.
so, yeah, he's got a
Strong,
lot of energy, boy.
He does. Strong Republican.
He
I love
is.
Senator Pody. Like working with him. But basically, what the bill does, it protects physicians from prescribing medication that they deem reasonable. So, in other words, we say we've got a medication that's used, that's not being known for one thing, but it will help treat something to the effects of COVID. It gives them the right to treat it, to give that medicine, use it for COVID, and not feel any heat from any boards or the hospital or anything.
So they have the right to practice medicine as they deem fit.
Right.
And use medicine for off-label uses, which, to my understanding, is not that unusual.
It's
to
not.
use an off-label use of a medicine, it's not that unusual.
It's
But
not.
with COVID, it's been
Seems like
they've acted like it was a.
They've acted like it. They made a big deal out of it, and we're going to have. We got doctors coming in from all over the United States to testify. It's
Wow.
It's some interesting stuff that's being uncovered out here that went on.
Wow.
The bill also ensures the patients have the right to an advocate. A lot of times we heard stories where a loved one would go into the hospital, they wouldn't let nobody come in. Next thing you know, the loved one's incapacitated on a vent or trach and can't make decisions. And this bill helps to clean up some of that stuff. It ensures the right, if you're going to have a transplant, that you don't have to have the vaccine to have a transplant. Right now, we're seeing so many individuals getting kicked off the transplant list because they won't get the vaccine.
Right. And there's pros and cons to the vaccine. And if you're in a vulnerable state, you might make the judgment of, I don't need the vaccine right now, because that brings its own, pros and cons.
Right.
So
Let
that person make that decision.
It should be your choice. I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm anti-mandates.
That's right.
It should be your choice, an individual's choice.
Well, my husband, I don't know if you remember, but my husband had a rough time with COVID.
Right.
And was in the hospital, and medicine was hard to come by.
Right.
So when you start talking about it, it kind of surprised me. I started feeling like, ooh, I remember when he was in the hospital, and I was not allowed to be there with him.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to advocate, but he's so sick he couldn't speak up.
Exactly.
And then the doctors. So it caused some real problems, and affected his health. Thankfully, he's gone back to work. He's better, but it did affect his care.
Right.
For there not to be someone to be able to advocate for him.
Yeah.
So thank you. I appreciate that, Bill. That's for sure.
That's something we're trying to eliminate. Another bill, it's in education. It states that the governor appoints a commissioner, but the commissioner has to be approved by the House and Senate.
Okay. So kind of like a confirmation process. We see that in D.C. The president wants to appoint, but then it still goes through and gets confirmed.
Same idea right here.
Okay.
Right now, the governor appoints, and there's no confirmation process.
Okay.
So going forward, we're hoping we can get this bill passed.
Would that apply to any of the others, or is this specific to this one for now?
This one just
For education for now. Okay.
Right now. Another bill, the Vote Act, House Bill 2012 requires that to do an audit. We have an audit system in place for future elections.
Good.
Something we can fall back and check to make sure our elections are secure.
That's right. Well, that's good. That way we can be on the safe side, and everybody can have confidence in it.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah. We just know, there's been, who knows what happened, but there should be a way to go back and do an audit.
And that way everyone can have full
Everybody
confidence.
needs to feel that, that their vote was counted and counted in the right way.
All right.
Another bill I have is a veterans bill. It's House Bill 1718. And what it does is say if you was in the military, Julie, for 4 years, and you get out of the military and you go to work for the state, say Tennessee Highway Patrol. You've been an officer for 21 years at the Highway Patrol, and you want to retire when you've had 25 years in. So what this bill is going to allow you to do is retire at 21, and the state's going to give you credit for the 4 years that you were in the military.
I see.
And then you'll have 21 years.
So
essentially,
so your military time will count towards your state retirement time.
Exactly.
Okay.
And your time of service.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm a strong believer, and I've always said, and I always will, that this country does not do enough for our military.
That would be that would be a big blessing.
Yes, it
that
would.
really would.
It would be a good thing if this state could do that, 'cause we don't.
Do you mind if I ask a question? We haven't gone over this. He didn't ask me beforehand for questions. Did you? You didn't ask me. What are you going to ask me?
No, yeah, anything you want.
Yeah,
No,
and he's like that. So he didn't ask me, and I didn't, read over everything. So I have questions as I go. And I had someone ask. I posted that I wouldn't be able to post take questions live. And somebody said, well, why won't the politicians take questions live? And I explained, if you'll read it, it's not that they won't, it's that I can't look at my phone and have our phone recording us at the same time. I'm a volunteer. Somebody's probably listening to this and saying, well, you could do it this way, this way, this way. Probably I could, but I don't know what that is.
You're far away, Judy.
Yeah.
Anything you think
right.
somebody might want to know, please ask.
Well, my thought is, what if someone did a career military, so they're at 20 years, with the whole 20, so they could work for the state for 5, or is there a limit?
It's a 4-year cap.
Okay, so it's a 4-year cap. So they couldn't work 20 in the military and then work 5 for a full state, because that might get, we want to bless the veterans.
We do,
absolutely.
absolutely.
But at the same time, we have to do it
Yeah.
to the point we can afford it.
Right, exactly.
So this is a 4-year cap, so up to 4 years
Right.
of the military service will count towards state retirement.
Exactly.
Is that, did I understand that?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're pretty. Yeah,
All right.
you're on track there.
All right.
Right now, there's something similar in place, but it's got a fee on it, and what we're kind of doing is working to waive that fee.
Okay.
So
So
trying to help.
there's already something similar, but they
Similar.
charge a fee. So
Yeah.
now let's not charge the veterans a fee
Right.
for that to count.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I like that.
Anything we can do to help veterans, I'm all for it.
I like that. I
I'm all
do.
for it.
All right.
And let's see, there may be
Anything
one
else
more.
you want to share?
Yeah, there's one more here that I got. It's kind of, I didn't, I'm a freshman, and when I come down here, it took a little while to figure out how things work. But I seen right quick. I'll just give you an example. So last week I had an ATV bill or UTV bill. Basically,
Okay.
what it said, the bill said was, it was allowing side by sides on our state highways, razors and such.
Oh, sure.
If the speed limit was under 45 mile an hour or less, that
Okay.
you could ride a side-by-side on our state highway, as long as it was tagged, had to have blinkers, seatbelt, roll cage,
So as long as it was fully safety equipped
you could ride it. Right now, we allow bicycles on our highways, we allow motorcycles, we allow those slingshots or whatever they call them, those three-wheel looking motorcycle things, which
and this
don't
is
have
all state highways. You're not talking about interstate. You're talking about state highways,
two-lane
which
highways.
a lot of times go through. We're from Marshall, so
Verona
go
Road,
through.
take Verona
through,
Road,
rural.
more
And
of a
so-
highway,
yeah.
Whatnot. But anyway, what happened down here, and it's something I've had a problem, and I brought it up to leadership, and Chairman Face and me and him had a great conversation about it the other day, is we have, they want to call them liaisons down here. So the Department of Safety, the Department of Education, each department down here has what they call a liaison. But
Okay.
really, it's not a liaison, it's a tax-funded lobbyist. So
Yes.
the department had a problem, the Department of Safety had a problem with my bill, they didn't like it. So what they done in committee is they lobbied against me.
So you have the state government lobbying the administrative, the bureaucracy side,
Exactly.
lobbying against the elected legislators.
Right, so if we have an idea that helps taxpayers and they don't like it, they
And
work
they're going to
against
work against
They
it.
work against it. So
The employees. Okay.
So Robin Smith has a bill addressing it, and I have a bill, House bill, here addressing it, 2485, and it says if you receive taxpayer funding and you lobby bills, you need to report your salary and hours spent on lobbying.
Okay.
If
So
we're
transparency.
Exactly. If we're going to
Okay.
pay their salary and they're going to work against our bills, we need to know how much time and money that you're using of the taxpayers
To work against this bill that the people we elected are wanting.
I come up here to represent the taxpayer.
Wow. Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Whatever's best for our district, whatever's best for the state, that's what I want to do.
Sure.
And but it's tough sometimes when you get up here and you got the administration, working against. I'm hoping this gains some traction. I've heard more grumbling about it
Okay.
than I did last year, so I'm hoping it gains some traction. I know there's 2 bills right now that's in the process of working their way
Okay.
through committee that's going to deal with this. So,
All right.
anyway.
Well, but that's not, you're not even saying that they're prohibited from expressing their side or their point of view.
No.
You're just saying, what you're wanting to do is bring some transparency
Exactly.
that these lobbyists exist, they're liaisons, they're not just communicating back and forth, they're advocating
They're
for very
advocating.
specific
They will
things.
speak against you in committee and
Okay.
tell the committee why the state don't need, or why the committee don't need to approve such legislation.
Okay.
And I just think, I don't think it's right.
Okay.
If you're
So-
gonna do it, we're gonna know how
Right.
much money and time spent on it, cause every other lobbyist down here has to register with the ethics and
Right.
finance or whatever it is.
So let's apply that same thing to someone who's lobbying on behalf of the state government
Amen.
bureaucracy is what you're saying.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much. There's a lot of exciting things going
It
on.
is.
I know there's some various 2A bills going on and some education bills.
Mhm.
In 2 weeks, I think it's March 10th, so it's about 2 weeks. We talked about Representative Sapicki is going to be the keynote speaker. He's going to talk about education legislation last year and now, what's happening now. And you're on the education committee,
Mhm.
and so you'll be there to speak for a
Most
few minutes
certainly.
on that and to take questions and so forth,
Right,
because there's a
right.
lot of important education things. There,
Serve on education with Chairman Sapicki, and I enjoy working with him.
I've listened to
I'm
him.
telling you, he's got our education, he's got our students in Tennessee at heart. I promise you, he wants what's best. We may not always agree, but he wants to see our numbers, rise in education. He wants to bring Tennessee to the top, and we're going to try to do that.
I think that's great. I've heard him speak on the CRT issues last year and how that all came together in a pretty quick manner, especially considering the way things usually take
Yeah.
time. And then I know there's some other CRT bills and so
Coming in
forth.
higher education
That's
issue,
right.
we're fixing to address it, and
And in the workplace,
Yeah.
take the CRT in the workplace and in the university system.
right, I know it's going to be dealt with in the universities this time,
Yes.
and I feel for sure we can have the same outcome.
Well, I think that's great.
Yes.
Well,
It's
I
good.
hope that this has been. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask you, is there any other questions that you would like to ask or anything?
Well, no, those are the questions that I got the most. Well, there's actually one other one. Do you have a
Yeah.
minute? Okay. If
I
you
got to be there at 3. So I
okay,
can do
so
it.
you've got a committee of 3. Well, let me ask you just one more then. There's the Interstate Compact with Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee. So that'll be it's a new legislation going through to put us in a compact with 3 states. And some people are concerned that it's going to have too much power, that it's going to kind of, once the legislators create it, that it's going to be outside your jurisdiction and even have power of eminent domain and so forth. So people are concerned about it.
Right, I don't know a lot
Okay.
about it. It's funny that you said something about it because I got an email from a constituent on it. I briefly looked into before you got in here, but it was
So
on
you were just getting
my
email out. Okay.
understanding that compact, maybe that even the folks wouldn't be elected, they'd be appointed.
Yes,
And
so
I
that's
don't-
raising some big concerns.
I have a problem with appointments, okay?
Okay.
When it starts involving government and committees and regulations that are over people,
Yeah.
So
So that's concerning.
yes, it
And
is.
and the appointments, I think that's a great point that you bring up, because in Tennessee we elect actually very few people, because we elect the governor and we elect our state senator and our state representative, but we don't elect our lieutenant governor. We don't directly elect. The attorney general or secretary
Right.
of state. There's very few that we
Yeah.
directly elect.
Now,
So
we at the
it's
House
very
and Senate
important.
elect
Yes.
those members there. So
And then the governor appoints
Right.
a large number of people.
he
So,
does.
so yeah, you all have an important role to keep a handle on that.
Right.
So I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for coming, Julie,
Thank
and you're
you. I
welcome.
appreciate you. Thank
You're
you
welcome
very
anytime,
much.
as well as any constituent is welcome up here anytime. Love to have you.